The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Talk Time with Val. This week we are going to focus on political correctness. Is that even a thing? I'm sorry, but I think the world has gone overboard with things. And to help me with this week's episode, I have none other than my favorite producer, Mr. James Bial. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Val. How you doing?
I'm good. Who also happens to have pot talk, politically offensive talk, every Thursday night, Jimmy? Hello?
Yep, at 8 o'clock Eastern.
And that's for the rest of us, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, Jimmy and I are going to be talking about political correctness, which I think it's hilarious that I'm talking to the politically offensive person here about this stuff. But let's get an idea of what political correctness is, right? So political correctness, or PC for short, means words or behavior which will not offend any group of people. And, most people think it's important for everybody to be treated fairly, equally, with dignity. I'm all for that. Some words are unkind to some people, and that have been used for a very, very long time, and some of these words have now been replaced by other words that are not offensive, right? The new words are described as politically correct. The term is often used in a mocking sense when attempts at avoiding offense seems to go too far, and that's exactly what we're going to focus on. We're not talking about the derogatory way someone might refer to someone who has a mental handicap. Calling someone slow or making fun of them with a voice that mimics somebody with a handicap is not okay. Okay? So we're not talking about in cases where, you refer to people by the N word or SN or towel head or something like that. Those are offensive. We're not talking about stuff like that. What we're talking about is when society goes too far and there is a small minority of people who are extremely offended by little things, and they want to take a bandwagon up and run shouting and screaming at the top of their lungs that this is offensive to me. Okay, so let's look at what engendered this conversation. Jimmy and I were talking about that Purdue University study, and I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but apparently if you want to show off your ethical superiority, avoid using words with man in them. This is what a writing guide at Purdue University advises students to do. It says, avoid words with man in them, such as male man and mankind, in order to write in a non-sexist, non-biased way. Now, here's my thing. I know that there are male people. I refer to my male woman as my male woman, my male man as my male man, right? Or my male carrier, or, I don't know, the postal worker. Which kind of is scary because when you think postal worker, you're thinking about somebody with an Uzi, right, Jimmy?
Right.
But seriously, mankind? Like, man in its original sense carried a dual meaning of adult human and adult male, right? So, in my lifetime, I've always thought of mankind as just being a shortened version of humankind. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's understood. It's a given. It's something that everybody is all, it's there's nothing wrong with it. It does not take away from women. It is not sexist. Just like the word man.
They happy until they call it womankind.
But it's not. It's not womankind. It's not mankind. Okay. So, all right. Maybe the words were made when society was more patriarchal, but fact is that it is a word that means something now. Manufactured. So you're going to stop saying manufactured, you're going to start saying made, simply because the word man is in manufactured? Seriously?
Right.
Because a man in a factory made this, it's manufactured. Are you going to say, no, we can't say this, we have to now say something is created or made? Are we going to lose a lot of our... Do you know how many words there are with the word man in it, Jimmy?
Right.
What do you think's going to happen? Like
I said, people are rebelling against it. They're just not going to go along with it.
I agree that we should attempt to start thinking in a non-sexist, non-biased way. And we should be ethically sound and effective. Do you agree with that, Jimmy?
Yeah, we got to get rid of the thought police. This is how you're going to think and say.
Right, we don't need thought police because we should be, as individuals, able to think and relate for ourselves. And as a species, I agree, we need to be non-sexist, non-biased, be ethically sound, ethically effective. But I'm sorry, to tell somebody it's sexist to use a phrase like mankind, so you should be able to replace it with humanity and people and human beings. I'm sorry, pretty soon you're going to say I can't say human because it is with regards to mankind. Or you can't say male man, you should replace that with male carrier. You can't use the word man-made. You have to use the word synthetic or machine-made. They're suggesting you use the word manufactured, but the word manufactured comes from something that is created in a factory by a man. So what, you're going to stop using that word too? It makes no sense to me. Now listen.
Like I said, there's no reason to be the thought police and taking away words and stuff. That's against the freedom of expression.
Exactly. Now I'm going to look up how many words.
They just can't say the N-word's no longer a word anymore. People are still going to use it just for nostalgia.
Because it's something that they grew up with, something that they know, something that is commonplace. But other people are giving it more emphasis in a negative connotation, and that makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely... They just
draw attention to it.
I don't understand what people... It's not even drawing attention to it. They draw negative attention and try to convince other people it's, somehow derisive and derogatory. Okay, this really kind of strikes me here because, listen, I'm a woman, right? And I'm all for gender equality. And as I stated, I'm a woman. I'm not bragging here, although I kind of am because we're awesome. But to me, this whole situation seems a little bit overblown. Okay? I'm telling you, in my personal opinion, there is approximately a 0% chance that seeing a word like mankind in someone's work should alienate any person. I'm telling you, it's 0% that it would alienate me. Because this guide is suggesting that if a student or a person uses the word mankind, they are undermining my femininity and my humanity. And they're not. I mean, I'm not sure if they're trying to insult me, but as a woman, I'm going to tell you this. I find it very insulting that this university seems to think that they need to ostracize or they need to strike from the human language words that have been built in history and context and connotation, words that have no power behind them in a negative fashion, and that they need to focus on this negativity in order to not hurt my fragile emotions. Excuse me, if you had to go through what a woman goes through on a daily basis, be a woman, you would realize we are definitely not fragile creatures. Okay? And I'm speaking for my other sistren out there who has the same mindset that I do. This is foolishness. There are other things that are a lot more offensive and a lot more derogatory and sexist than using a word like mankind. Jimmy, help me out. Here are some examples. Right? Do you think your sisters, you have what? You have 7 sisters? 9
8.
sisters? 8. Okay. So I was in between there. You have 8 sisters. Do you think any of your sisters would be offended by the word mankind?
No.
And out of the 8 sisters you have, if someone says, hey, toots, what's up? How many would be offended?
It depends who's saying it.
A stranger on the street.
What's that?
A stranger on the street.
Yeah, they look at him strange, yeah.
Right, so they wouldn't be offended, but they might think he's common or crass or just rude, right?
Right, pretty much rude.
Right, but it's but if they're like, if he was like, hey, sweet tits, they'd be offended, right?
Yeah, they would get an answer back, that's for sure.
Exactly, and this is what I'm saying. I'm all for gender equality. I am not for, you know what? People seem to think that feminization or feminism means to be weak or to be overly sensitive or something like that, and it's not. I'm extremely feminine. Jimmy's sisters are feminine. They have raised, they have married, had their families, raised kids, raised grandkids, and spent a lifetime of living, loving, working, being, contributing members to society. And you know what offends them? Because this is what they have time to be offended by: crude, crass, rude, degenerative behavior. That's what offends. That's what's sexist. If I go into work and I am told that my top is too, I don't know, let's say I'm wearing a top that's not revealing, it's not see-through, but because I have big busts, I can't wear clingy shirts, I'm asked to wear a jacket, that's sexist. Because you know what? This is my body. I'm not wearing something tight. I can't help the fact that I have extremely large breasts. I should not be made to feel like I'm being inappropriate because someone else around me can't handle it. Just like those girls who are going to prom and their skirts are perfectly long enough, or they're wearing a strap, you know, a perfectly nice dress, and they're told that they are, what was the phrase? They are incentivizing the male population. Basically, they're distracting the boys. I'm sorry, distracting the boys? What I wear to be comfortable is distracting you? I'm not trying to wear something suggestive and lewd and revealing. I'm wearing something that's comfortable, but I can't wear it because it's distracting you? That makes no sense to me. That is sexist. Okay? So deal with the things that are sexist. Deal with the fact that men need to realize...
Well, if you're going to wear revealing clothing, you got to expect to be harassed.
No. But that's not what I was saying. I was saying these young girls who went to prom, nothing was wrong with their dresses. It wasn't revealing. It wasn't, it wasn't off the shoulder strap. It wasn't too short. It wasn't too tight. But because it had lace on it, on like, you know how you have a dress, sometimes it has straps on it and the entire shoulders and the arms down to the wrist are covered in lace? But the dress it's not form-fitting. It's not like clinging to where, their nipples are printed out or anything. They were perfectly beautiful, perfectly decent dresses they could wear to church, I kid you not. And they were told that they could not go to their proms or that they couldn't wear these clothes to school because it would distract the boys. It was too sexual. The onus is put on women, right? And that to me is sexist. If I go to work, Jimmy, and I have a big chest. If I wear a top that is a soft cotton material, it's not my fault. I'm talking about a top that is appropriately sized to me, not tight, okay? So it's not like it's going over my breast and then hugging back in and going down. It's not low cut. But if I wear certain materials, silk, satin, well, not really satin, but silk, or organic materials like cotton, soft cotton, etc., it will cling. It tends to flow to your body. And then I shouldn't be made to feel, if someone else with not as large breasts as me wears the same size appropriate top and they're allowed to wear it, then I should be allowed to wear it too. Because quite frankly, I'm doing my work. I shouldn't be judged on the fact that I'm wearing a top that is a little bit like showing off, like, you know, the size of my bosom. What do you want me to do? Strap it down, tie it down, and then wear an overcoat? Being told that I need to wear a jacket to cover it up is not right. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you might as well wear a burqa.
Precisely. And this is what I'm saying. The onus is put on women, and they're being told in this society today that what they're wearing, what they're doing it's distracting the males, or it's not appropriate for this situation because of their body type. And I'm here to tell you that you don't get to choose. And my body, what I'm wearing, is not distracting to your boys and your men. This is what I find sexist. The word manufactured or man-made or mankind does not affect me. I don't think that's sexist. All right? Walking down a street in the same, Jimmy, sweatpants, like, you know, jogging pants, right? And a sports bra with an oversized t-shirt, but a cotton t-shirt over it, right? And of course, you know, when you're jogging, it clings. If a woman is a size 2 and she's wearing that, it's okay. If a woman is a size 8, a little bit more voluptuous, or a size 10, it's kind of okay, but men start whistling and making noises. And if she happens to have a little bit more junk in the trunk and a little bit more bigger boobs, then what happens? She can't walk outside wearing that outfit, can she?
Why is that?
Because every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there has something to say. Okay, let me tell you something here, Tom. Excuse me. A few years ago, when I was living in Trinidad, and I was in I had a house in Trin City, right? Trin City is a nicer area. It's like where one of the nicer malls is. It's got good walking parks. It's just a nice place, right? And we have these. You know how kids have outdoor playgrounds? They have like their, what do you call them, the spinny things and the seesaws and all that stuff. All the playground equipment is outdoors.
Oh, yeah. Well, yep.
Okay. So the way we have it there set up is every park, and like every few blocks you have a park, every park has these outdoor equipment too for adults. So you have an outdoor treadmill, which is done on like metal rollers, you know. You have ski machines and boating canoe machines and crunch machines and like pretty much everything that you would have in an indoor gym, but these are made for outdoors, outside, in the park. They're weather resistant, so that adults can play while their kids are playing. They can work out and watch their kids while everybody's enjoying the park, right? That's how it's set up. Okay. So a lot of people take advantage of this, because why are you going to go and pay a ton of money to join a gym and be indoors when you can use these parks and just go swimming in the ocean? You get what I'm saying? Why would you? Every machine there is free to use. It's in public property. Plus, it kind of encourages the community to work out together, to stay healthy, to go for walks, to talk to each other, to get to know each other. I guess it's more of an island style of living, right? But that's how it is.
More than what?
More like an island style of living. Like, a lot of people here don't really congregate to each other as much. But anyway, what I was saying was this. So I was wearing shorts, right, over my leggings, because it's the Caribbean. I'm not wearing thick, heavy leggings. So I was wearing just shorts over like my bicycle pants, and I was wearing a sports bra and like one of those, you know, those cut-off t-shirts that have a bunch of holes in them, like net t-shirts.
Yep.
Okay, so I was wearing one of those like basketball net t-shirts and a sports bra and my leggings and, you know, a pair of shorts over the leggings. So I'm there, I'm walking to the park. I literally had, my cousin used to have to walk with me because these guys would stop in their cars and try to talk to me driving on the side of the road while I'm in the park. You get what I'm saying? And they would say some very crude things at times. They would say some inappropriate things, or they would proposition you. And it got to be a serious issue to the point where I did not feel comfortable. So there's a crosswalk with the yellow blinky lights, and one guy actually crashed into the yellow blinky lights because I kept looking and not answering, and he got mad. And he started calling me a bunch of profanity, a bunch of names, because I wouldn't respond to him, right? I just kept walking, and he swerved his car towards the pavement and hit that light. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, that's how crazy people are. They're stupid. So that I find offensive. I find it sexist, because you're telling me I can't. If you're like, oh well, if you're wearing something provocative or whatever, then you're asking to be, said something to. No, you can look, but there's no way that it's there's no way that it's what is the word I'm looking for, Jimmy? It's not your right to talk to me and to insist that I have to talk back with you. It's not your right to harass me, to make me feel uncomfortable, or to say sexual things to me. That is not your right. It's not your right to grab me and try to rape me because I'm wearing something provocative. You get what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I tried telling you earlier there. You're going to dress like that, you got to expect to be harassed.
Right, but you might,
You know what I mean? It'd be like me running around in my underwear all day, outside work and everything else. It would just be wrong.
Well, what I'm saying is, you expect people to notice it, and you might expect one or two people to say something, but there are times when, okay, so if you're running around your underwear outside, somebody might say, what, he's crazy?
Absolutely.
They might tell you to put on some
he's
clothes.
Looking for attention. And I'd get a lot of attention. I'm sure a lot of people would be screaming at me.
Okay, and they'll be screaming at you and telling you to go put some clothes on, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a young lady dressed in gym clothes. That's a commonplace thing in this world today, isn't it?
What do you mean, gym clothes?
Like yoga pants and like a sweatshirt or something.
They're not yoga pants. They're something else, ain't they? They're all nice.
Leggings?
Yeah, no, I don't know. No,
I'm talking about just normal yoga pants.
Oh, is it yoga pants?
Just normal yoga pants, normal tights, or whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
Right, but that's normal in today's society, isn't it?
I don't know.
Like, I can't walk out of my house without seeing, like, even at work on casual days, the girls wear yoga pants with their tops just below their butts or something,
Right.
But it's like I'm talking about just normal everyday clothing. A girl wearing short pants and a t-shirt should not have to feel, in the heat of summer, if the short pants aren't clinging and tight, even if they are, who cares? She shouldn't have to feel sexually violated or made to cry or made to feel like a slut because she's wearing something like that.
Yeah, but should guys be walking around with, like, socks on their dick and being exposed?
I didn't say she was walking around with pasties. There are guys who walk around with the most clingy outfits. Their packages are printed out. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, it's
right.
I don't think,
in other words, they're looking for attention.
Okay, and that's fine. But looking for attention does not mean...
Well, when you get the attention, you're mad about it. That's what I'm trying to get through to you.
No. I'm saying when you get the attention, it's negative, or it's... If you were to be talking to a girl, Jimmy, let's say a woman's passing and you say something about... You whistle at her because she's cute, right?
Hey, baby.
Something like that. She might smile and give you a little wave off or something, right? Because she's looking for the attention. Fine. Now, if you were to follow her and say, well, give me a number, and she's like, nah, it's all right, thanks anyway, and you get all offended and keep following her and start calling her every word under the sun, that's where the attention goes too far, correct?
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the attention. I'm not talking about a guy looking. Quite frankly, if you're wearing a bustier and a guy looks, well, a guy looks. A woman might look. It doesn't matter. If you're wearing something that is provocative, somebody's going to look. no problem. They might even comment. It might be a small, short comment, but it doesn't have to be an offensive comment. But when it starts impacting on their personal space, when you start trying to take their choices away by insisting they give you their number or calling them a slut or a bitch or whatever, a tease and whatever, and you don't know them, you've never met them before, but you're following them and you start making them feel unsafe, right? You're following them to their car, you're trying to touch them, reaching out, touching their hair, trying to touch their shoulder or their butt or something. That's crossing the line. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I consider sexist. I don't think excuse me, like I don't think there's a problem with admiring the opposite sex. In fact, we were at the gas station it was about a month ago, and we had an unseasonably warm day. It was like 65 or something, and this girl was wearing this really cute dress. It was long. It was almost to the ankles, but it was, kind of revealing in the cleavage, and it was very form-fitting and kind of see-through, and it was blowing in the wind. And she was absolutely beautiful. And I turned to John, and I'm like, hey, look. And he's like, what? And he's like, I don't see nothing. I'm not going to get trapped. And I'm like, don't be an idiot. She's beautiful, right? And he looked, and that's fine. And she was beautiful, and the dress was beautiful. And she had an extremely, oh my God, Betty Boop figure, okay? Nothing wrong with looking. Now, if John was to walk over there and be like, trying to touch her or getting in her space and not taking no for an answer, then that becomes harassment. What you're talking about, Jimmy, is not harassment. That's just human interaction. And what I'm talking about is the fact that to me is a sexist behavior that needs to be addressed, not words like mankind. I mean, that's just stupid. Man-made. We're no longer allowed to say man-made. So what? I mean, people always say, you know what? I got a perfect example for you. Hey, Jimmy, a friend of mine, Gary, sent me a note a couple days ago, right? And kind of want to read it to you. I just want to get your opinion on this really quickly. Listeners, this ties in with sexism and choice, okay? So please just bear with me. I thought this was extremely enlightening. Excuse me. It goes, Billy Graham's daughter was interviewed on The Early Show, and Jane Clayson asked her, how could God let something like this happen regarding the attacks on September 11th, hurricanes and earthquakes? Anne Graham gave an extremely profound and insightful response. She said, I believe God is deeply saddened, just as we are, but for years we've been telling God to get out of our schools, to get out of our government, to get out of our lives, and being the gentleman that he is, I believe he has calmly backed out. How can we expect God to give us his blessing and his protection if we demand he leave us alone? In light of recent events, terrorist attacks, school shootings, etc., I think it started when Madeleine Murray, or Hare, she was murdered, her body was found recently, complained she didn't want prayer in our schools, and we said okay. Then somebody said, you better not read the Bible in school. The Bible says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and love your neighbor as yourself, and we said okay. Then Dr. Benjamin Spock said, we shouldn't spank our children when they misbehave because their little personalities would be warped and we might damage their self-esteem. Dr. Spock's son committed suicide. And an expert should know what he's talking about, and we said okay. Now we're asking ourselves why our children have no conscience, why they have this entitled attitude, why they don't know right from wrong, and why it doesn't bother them to kill strangers, their classmates, and themselves. Probably if we think about it long and hard enough, we can figure it out. I think it has a great deal to do with we reap what we sow. Funny how simple it is for people to trash God and then wonder why the world is going to hell. Funny how we believe that what the newspapers say, but question what our holy books say. Now, I'm going to stop there because the rest of it is more of a, personal mindset than anything else. But I think it's very profound simply because of this. We are so quick to jump on a bandwagon. Dr. Spock said we should not spank our children. And yet, you know what? Has degraded since child abuse has become rampant. And these are air quotes, by the way, people. Because smacking your child on the butt or smacking their fingers if they go to take something that's not theirs is not child abuse. Okay? I honestly think, yes, you should use your words as much as you can and don't hit your children. But there are situations where, as a child is developing and they say, let's say a child steals something, right? And they're 2 years old and you're seeing them literally steal something from somebody else. You've told them no, they cannot have it, and they reach over to take it. I see no problem with smacking that child's fingers. Do you, Jimmy?
Not at all.
But do you know that if you were to do that in public, you'd have about 90% of the people there jumping your throat for being a bad parent for dare you hit that child?
It's something to be said about Catholic schools, where they used to smack their hands with the ruler. Right,
okay. But that I'm not talking about just general corporal punishment. I'm talking about there are instances where, I'm not saying go out and randomly beat your child, right? If you tell your child, do not play with a gun, a BB gun, like that show, what is the name of that show that John and you love, Jimmy? The one with the lamp that's shaped like a leg? And it's a little boy with glasses, and he's kind of a brat, and he shoots the TV with the BB gun.
Oh, you talking about the cartoon?
No, it's like a Christmas show that you guys tell me you and John were talking about it for a while. I can't remember it. Anyway, I got him one of those lamps. It's a lamp that's shaped like a leg, so he put it in the window, just like in the show. But
okay.
But anyway, you get a BB gun, right? As a kid, and you tell the kid, you can only use it monitored. And the kid sneaks out and uses it, and he's shooting at some cans or a haystack or something, right? Like a barn door or something.
Birds or squirrels.
No, I'm saying he's shooting at inanimate objects.
It turns into.
But that's what I'm saying. So he's shooting at the inanimate objects, and you catch him. You give him a good talking to, and you tell him, don't do that again. But he doesn't listen. He goes out, and it escalates, and he starts shooting the birds and the squirrels or the neighbor's cat or something like that. Are you going to tell him again, don't do that again? This time you take the gun away and you put it up somewhere. He finds it, and he goes out and he shoots the neighbor's cat or dog or something. What are you going to do? Just keep telling him not to do it? Man, 3 swats on his butt and break that gun in half. But parenting books today are telling you, do not...
Break it in half on his behind.
But parenting books are telling you cannot destroy the toy, because you destroy the toy, and the toy is an extension of the child. And I'm thinking, what utter and total horse crap is this? If my child is using a toy or any object as a destructive weapon, then damn skippy, I am going to destroy it. In fact, I'm going to tell them why it's being destroyed and have them help me destroy it. The fact is, you cannot hit your sister over the head with your pretend hammer. Why not, Mommy? Because if you actually hit your sister over the head with your pretend hammer, and then one day you pick up a real hammer, you're going to kill your sister. You get what I'm saying? But apparently they're thinking children are too fragile to learn these lessons now. And I think that is utter and total horse-pucky. I don't mind telling you that I was a complete and holy terror sometimes when I was a child. And there are certain incidents my parents don't know about, right? Like me being 5 years old and climbing a certain tree in the backyard because I wanted to be big like my brothers and my cousins. I wanted to be a big child. And I decided to climb a mango tree that was on a hill. And the branches, as they spread out, because of the way the hill was sloped, when you go to one side of those branches, it's over 40 feet high, right? Jimmy, I fell. I was lucky I did not hit branches coming down, and those roots on those trees were so big, they're bigger than the trunks of the trees I have out front here right now. Okay, you're talking about a grown man cannot wrap his arms around one of those roots, how big those roots are. They're big and gnarled and buckled, and they stick up and out of the ground like knees. You get what I'm saying? If I had hit any of those branches or landed on one of those roots, I'd be dead, right? Right? I was very fortunate. God was with me. Because I believe in God, so I have no problem speaking about him. He was with me. And I somehow managed to not hit any of the branches on the way down. I had leaves catch me and somehow fell between two of the roots into a very thick bed of peat moss. And I'm talking about, when I say thick, I'm talking about like 2 feet thick and spongy, you know? And I was fine. I was completely fine. Nothing happened to me. But let me tell you something. My oldest cousin who was there, who saw it, right? Like, they were all in shock and in terror, and they stopped doing their shenanigans because of it. It traumatized them. But I'm telling you that if my parents had found out that my brothers and my cousins had let their little 4.5-year-old daughter climb a tree 40 feet in the air and jump out to a branch and fall and almost die, that half of their backsides wouldn't be tanned. Do you get what I'm saying? They wouldn't be able to sit down for a week. I am pretty sure about that.
And they would call it child abuse now.
Now, but nothing is wrong with... Hello, my brothers. Okay, I can't say that me and my sister ever got spanked because we kind of spoiled children and we were little Miss Perfects. I wasn't. She was. But, you know, like, I don't remember. I got slapped in my face once, straight, because I was being hysterical because they had burst my ears. And, you know, I have very sensitive skin, and the material they had used 18-karat gold, and I'm allergic to nickel, and 18-karat gold has traces of lead and nickel, and it was causing one of those little blisters, the infections, and I refused to let them go near my ears to take the earrings off. And I was being hysterical, and in order to shock me into stopping, otherwise, I mean, they couldn't get it off otherwise, I got a slap straight across my face. It wasn't hard, but I was in shock, and I stopped, and they were able to take it off, you know? They didn't do it to hurt my identity. I don't remember feeling like, oh, how dare you slap me in my face, you've attacked my identity, my sense of self. No. I know that, I'm pretty sure I've gotten whacked on my tush. I just can't remember it because I was probably too small to remember it. I know for a fact my nieces and nephews, as they were growing up, I had no problem giving them a little smack on their tush or a smack on their fingers if they were going to touch something hot and I said no and they didn't listen. Or if they were going to take something that wasn't theirs, like you have 4 cookies and your brother has 4 cookies and you decide to reach over and steal your little brother's cookies, you're going to get a little smack on your fingers, right? No. You'll be told no, and then you're going to be sent to the corner to talk to the spiders. You get what I'm saying? Children do things. Or if they're playing in dirty water, you know, or something like that, they mightn't smack them, but you do punish them. And this is what I'm saying. It's ridiculous that these things are now child abuse. It's ridiculous that a few people like Dr. Spock, whose son actually committed suicide, gets to form society into thinking these new things that are actually degrading society. You want to know who the Antichrist was? People like Dr. Spock. People who have done so much to change our societal values to the point where we have children now who think that they're entitled to everything. We have adults now who will go around saying that the word man
need a safe space.
Yes, who need a safe space, or who think that the word man-made is offensive. You get what I'm saying? I do find certain words offensive. Okay, I don't like the N-word. I think it's offensive. I don't want it used around me. I think it's degrading. Right? I don't like it. Okay, so if you're looking at something and it's a fire retardant, right? It slows something down. That's fine. You can use that word like that. But to use that word in regards to a human being, a person, as a way to say that they're stupid is degrading an entire stereotyping an entire subset of humanity, and I don't like that. The words I don't like are...
What word are we talking about?
Okay, so I don't want to say the word, Jimmy. It starts with R, and it is a word that's used for people who are mentally handicapped. I don't use the word. I don't like it, so I won't use it. But you get what I'm saying. I don't like that word. I won't say the N word either. I think it's degrading. It's crass. It's crude, right? It's like in every society there are words that are used to belittle, degrade, and subhumanize a certain section of society or a certain section of people.
You should ban all those words?
No, I'm not saying ban them. Because you know what? I don't believe that you should ban them. Here's why. When you ban those words, you lose a part of history. Those words came into play because things happened in history, right? Things happened in our past. Our kids, our future generations need to know what happened. History shouldn't be, you shouldn't have history being tempered to not hurt their feelings. You get what I'm saying? The truth should be said. They should be taught instead that these words are not nice. They should not be used to describe people because they are offensive and degrading, right? But here's another thing. The N-word is used by Black people to describe themselves and each other, and it's acceptable as a common slang phrase. They've grabbed that word and they claim, a lot of them claim, that they use it as a way to take back power from the word, and that's fine. Me personally, there's something about the word that makes me very, very sad. I don't like it. I think it's a horrible word, okay?
Me, it's a word.
Right, to you it's just a word.
Dago, wop.
And that's fine, because you grew up in a time frame where those words didn't have, like, power.
Well,
they were just words that everybody used.
You denigrated your own ethnicity.
Exactly. So in your time, when you grew up, those words didn't have power like that. They were just words, right? They were just words that you used.
That's how you would talk. Call other people as soon as you know they're you're a Jew, you're a kike, you're this, you're that. And no matter what the religion or the ethnicity, there was always a cut. There was always a way to denigrate it.
There was always some derogatory word for it.
Exactly.
Right, and that's because growing up where you grew up, that's how society worked. And I'm not saying, no, you should take those words out of society, because, no, I don't think that. See, me personally...
No, but we would say now, even the person that you're denigrating would go along with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not even being hurt by it.
And
but
that's
today,
what I'm saying. They don't see...
Everybody's hurt by it.
Right. And that's my point. In your time frame, it wasn't a denigration or derogatory. It was just a reference, and people took it in stride because that's how they felt. Right, and that's fine.
In today's fun society, of each other's ethnicities.
Right. But in today's society, Jimmy, that is not acceptable. In today's society, in today's society, what was I trying to say? In today's society, what ends up happening is that those words do have power, right? So I grew up thinking that the N-word is just a horrible, horrible word, because I grew up thinking, there is a word in Hindi that is used for, excuse me, in Hinduism, and not just in Hinduism, but in Indian culture. I swallowed wrong, Jimmy, and this is like killing me right now. there are different castes, right? You have the Brahmins and you have the warriors and blah, 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 blah. But then you have a caste, a certain subset of people who are called untouchables because they are the people who deal with corpses on the street. They clean up the poo and, things like that. Jobs nobody else wants to do. And they're deemed to be untouchable in society. They're deemed to be unclean, right? And I think that's horrible. I don't think any human being should be made to feel like they can never get above that station. In fact, you could be a lawyer, but your parents were from that caste. Then you are untouchable. And there were certain degrading words that categorized that. Now, this is what I'm talking about. If you're raised and you're thinking that certain words have power, and they have power to hurt, and you know that they have power to hurt, then maybe don't use them, right? Now, we live in a different society today where people who have to have safe spaces for their feelings. Right, and I think it's ridiculous. It's because...
Which, like you said, years ago, we would disarm it by coming out with it right up front. You know what I mean? You go up to strangers and you say, what's your name? And then you either dig in his ethnicity or say, yeah, I'm a Guinea, or that's what I
you were a teenager doing that, and it was okay in that subset. As an adult in the workforce, you didn't just go up to somebody and say, yeah, you're and call them by their ethnicity and stuff, right?
No, but that's after talking to them, knowing them for a while. It's not the first thing you say to them.
But even in the workforce, it wasn't appropriate to talk to them and say that. But I'm talking about after you got to know them for a while, you would call your Italian friends, what did you say, guineas? And your black friends other words. And
wops.
Okay, wops, okay. I don't even know these words, but okay.
Wops, W-O-P, without papers. They were working without papers.
Oh, is that what it means, without papers?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is this. You called your friends that, and between your friends, that was fine. Just like black people call other people, black people, the N-word. But between your friends, that was fine. But in common society, in your workforce and stuff, you wouldn't just use those words, would you?
Absolutely.
So you would just walk up to some random guy and be like, hey, N-word?
I wouldn't go up and denigrate him, because then, that's like a shock thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I would ease up to it just to break the ice.
When you get to know the person, right? And that's different because those words have no power at that time. Right. Because they know you, they know who you are, they know you don't mean it in a awful way that's saying that you're better than they are and they need to be beneath your shoes. You get what I'm saying? They know you. Wow. Now, it's not derogatory in that case, but I honestly am, this is what I'm saying. These words, mankind, is not a derogatory word. It is not a sexist word. It's just a word meaning all of, human beings. Mankind. That's it.
See, that's how I feel about the N-word. It's just a word.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that, to me, it has power because it has such negative power to it. You get what I'm saying? It's been used. I only see it as a vilified word. I have never seen it used in a positive way. But I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a word in our vocabulary. What I'm saying is that you should know that there's, sides to it where black people use it for other black people because they're taking the power back. And like you said, it's not vilified because they're talking to their buddy. And this word that had so much negative energy is being turned into a positive word. But to me, because I'm not African American and I've only heard it used in very, very negative ways, to me, I cringe at the word. This is just me personally. I'm not saying it should be stricken from the English language. It's not my choice. No word is my choice to be stricken from the English language. I think that these people at Purdue who are trying to get the words male man and mankind and anything with the word man in it and saying that it's sexist, I think they're ridiculous. Because these words aren't sexist. We've discussed what sexism is. These words do not hurt my fragile female ego. I don't have a fragile female ego. When it comes to those words, they are words that have been used in society for decades, if not centuries. And they are words that have a certain meaning to them, an understood meaning. To now go and look at the root of the word and try to find offense because of the root of the word is complete inanity and stupidity. It's just asking for trouble when there's already so much trouble in the world to deal with. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
There is I think I was telling you earlier. Right, I think I was telling you earlier that let's see. I think all of this has gotten completely out of control. I told you that earlier this month, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau actually corrected a woman who said mankind, a town hall event telling her to say people kind instead. I mean, aside from the fact that people kind is not a word.
Right.
Humankind,
and who's he to
humankind is
tell
not
somebody how to speak?
It doesn't even matter. I love Justin Trudeau. I completely love Justin Trudeau. I think he is, the man is gorgeous as hell. I mean, seriously, oh my God, he is gorgeous. He is smart. He is funny.
That's Castro's kid.
Just because he's gorgeous doesn't mean he's my man candy. You're my man candy. But anyway, I was just saying, he's gorgeous. He's brilliant. He has a good brain on his shoulder.
No, he's Fidel's kid.
He's what?
Fidel Castro's kid.
Justin Trudeau?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Castro went up there and had an affair with Justin's wife. Not Justin, his mother.
With the Prime Minister of Canada's wife at the time?
Yes, it was a known thing way back when.
I've never heard that. But so what? Who cares? Justin Trudeau is gorgeous. He is smart. He is funny. He has a good heart. Right? And I've never heard that, so... that is funny. Jimmy just said that Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's child, illegitimate child, when he had an affair with the then Prime Minister's wife, the then Prime Minister of Canada's wife.
I believe that.
I would too. I'm going to be looking that up. Listeners, I'm sure you're all going, Google search is going crazy right now. They're all like, Jimmy
Paul told me that.
Oh, yeah, so Paul told you that, so it must be true. Come on, Jimmy.
Well, he probably got it off Facebook or something.
I don't believe it. Okay, because if that was true... Okay, I'm just going to Google it.
I know
Is Justin Trudeau Fidel Castro's a love child? Okay, all right. Let's see. Justin Trudeau was born on December 25th, 1971 to the late Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau and his wife Margaret. And let's see. A suicide note left by Fidel Castro's eldest son reveals that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was the son of the late Fidel Castro. All right, that was from Your Newswire, which has been debunked. Let's go look at... Jimmy, I love you. You're amazing. Okay, so claims that Fidel Castro and Margaret Trudeau had an affair that produced the current Canadian Prime Minister are impossible on both biological and historical grounds. So it's impossible on both biological and historical grounds. Basically, what they're saying is the time period that on November 26th, 2016, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sparked controversy by praising Fidel Castro in a statement about the former Cuban dictator's death, saying that while a controversial figure, both Mr. Castro's supporters and detractors recognized his tremendous dedication and love for the Cuban people, who had a deep and lasting affection for El Comandante. I know my father was very proud to call him a friend, and I had the opportunity to meet Fidel when my father passed away. It was also a real honor to meet his three sons and his brother, President Raul Castro, during my recent visit to Cuba. So some Canadians and others were angered by what they viewed as Trudeau's humanization of a dictator who had caused profound suffering for his own people. Trudeau's statement, as well as his family's friendly history with Castro, led to speculation that a much harder truth lay behind his soft words. On November 27, 2016, 2 days after Castro's death was announced, a user on the Donald Trump subreddit /R/the Donald presented a theory that Justin Trudeau, the son of former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, was actually the love child of Fidel Castro and Margaret Trudeau. The theory rested on 3 unconnected assertions. 1. Margaret Trudeau and Fidel Castro met in 1971 and were close friends ever after. 2. Margaret Trudeau was sexually promiscuous. And 3. Fidel and Justin were similar in appearance. Alright, so the Trudeaus were indeed close to Fidel Castro, who once described Pierre Trudeau as a close friend and an extraordinary figure. Margaret Trudeau was also open in her later writings about her various past affairs, and yes, young Castro and Justin Trudeau might bear physical resemblance. The notion that the Trudeaus and the Castros met in 1971, however, is based on what appears to be willful misreadings of a newspaper article by the Reddit user. They actually never met around the date of Justin's conception. Okay? So, now that we've established a similar appearance, we need to figure out if it's even possible that Fidel met with Margaret before Justin's conception. In fact, Pierre and Fidel met for the first time 1 year before Justin was born. So, ignoring the biological impossibility of conceiving a child a literal year before that child was born, the user linked to an article by the Canadian newspaper The Globe and Mail describing the first time the two leaders spoke to, not met each other. So, you get what I'm saying, Jimmy? It was pretty much a year. But because people were on the website trying to denigrate Justin Trudeau, they tried to make up things. There is no basis to it, Jimmy. A baby cannot take 12 months to gestate in a human, unless Margaret Trudeau is part alien as well as being promiscuous.
Okay, I know Mick Jagger was fooling around with Margaret.
Yeah, no, we're not saying that. Margaret Trudeau openly admitted that she had various past affairs. She was a lusty woman, and she admits to that, and she has no shame in that. So, good for her, right? Lusty. Or bad for her, depending on how you want to look at it. But the fact is, just because she had a few affairs doesn't mean that Fidel Castro was the father of her child. Especially since a year before was the only time they saw Fidel. Physical proximity. You get what I'm saying? It's not like the dictator of Cuba was flying in and out to Canada. But anyway, I got sidetracked. What we basically started off was on politically correct and politically incorrect. And I'm going to tell you that the word man-made does not offend me. In fact, I do not think that there is any way in this God-green earth that any right-thinking, mature human woman would state that they are going to be alienated by somebody using the word man-made. I don't know why John is stoopsing. I'm sorry. So, all right. That's all the time we have for tonight's show. You have heard me, Valenice, my favorite producer, Jim Bell, and, of course, my husband in the background because he is, well, John.
Sorry.
That's it for this week's show. Thank you very much, listeners, and be safe, be well, and blessed be.